Gervonta Tank Davis claps back at Ryan Garcia, who says he's already a bigger star than Tank Davis. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for ESPN Plus below using my link, yours truly. It helps the channel. Conor McGregor pay-per-view on ESPN Plus. Order that. He's fighting Donald Cowboy Cerrone. First time back in the octagon. Should be a good fight. Conor's trainer saying he's looking good, and you know, I've seen some pictures of Conor in shape. So it's one of the big fights for this upcoming year that has been announced. Link in the description. Again, it helps the channel. Now, Ryan Garcia did an interview with AK and Barack. You know, look at this clip. And he was on SiriusXM. Him and his brother. So in this interview, we'll pull it up. This is a direct quote. I'm already the biggest star. I've been a bigger star than Gervonta Tank Davis. This is what Ryan Garcia said. And obviously Tank Davis got wind of it, seen the tweet. Somebody sent it to him like, hey, Ryan's talking about you again. And this is what Gervonta responded. He been the main event, right? What was his ticket sales? Get back with me with that crying emoji. So he's obviously mocking it and saying, no, you ain't, you know, just sarcasm and stuff like that. I don't know. My thing is this. I think there's a lot of clout chasing in boxing. Let's jump right into it. A lot of clout chasing going on in boxing. I like all these guys at 135. It's a popping division now. It's getting too crowded. You got Devin Haney, you got Gervonta, you got Ryan Garcia, you got Lomachenko. Teofimo just won a belt. You got a lot of names now. You know, it's popping. 135 hasn't been this popping for a minute. I remember when Adrian Broner was there, they didn't have names like this. You know, it was him, Ricky Burns, and Gavin Reese, and, you know, people like this. Antonio DeMarco, Broner chopped him up. Same thing when Terrence Crawford moved to 35. It wasn't the popping division. You know, he beat Ray Beltran and a couple other guys, and he had to move to 140, where he later became undisputed because there wasn't really big fights. Now there's actually big fights, so I do like that. But what I don't like is the clout chasing. I think there's a lot of clout chasing where, you know, you have Ryan Garcia, he's fighting Fonseca. The fight has already been announced. It's on Valentine's Day. And we're hearing him talk more about a Tank fight and wanting to fight Tank, and, you know, that's on his radar and he wants it before December. Then we're seeing of him talk. See, look, boom, we got action. Flyer made up, Golden Boy in the zone, Valentine's Day, my parents' anniversary, February 14th, 2020. Garcia versus Fonseca. Now, Fonseca, if you guys don't know, is Gervonta Tank Davis's leftovers from the Mayweather-McGregor card. People make this big deal about, you know, it's funny because everyone talks about Tank missing weight. Well, the first fight where it was noted that he really missed weight was when he fought Fonseca on the Mayweather-McGregor card. I was there. I covered that insane fight week. Definitely one of my most memorable fight weeks that I've covered. And Tank lost his title at then division 130 on the scale because he couldn't make weight. And he ended up stopping Fonseca. Fonseca was somewhat crafty, but Tank stopped him in the end. And, you know, Mayweather stopped Conor McGregor. Boom. This was in 2017, I believe in August. And since that point, Fonseca has fought at 130, 135-ish. And most of his big fights are at 130, like the big names that he's fought. He also fought Tevin Farmer and lost to him. So now Ryan Garcia is getting him after Tank stopped him, after Tevin Farmer beat him. And now Ryan Garcia is getting him. But there's not a superb interest in the fight. So I feel like he's mentioning Tank Davis. Like, hey, people aren't really talking about this opponent and seeing this as like the biggest threat. So he's mentioning Tank. As far as him being a big star, bigger than Tank, I mean, I don't agree with that. I think he's definitely a star. He's training with Canelo's trainer. I'm sure that got him some clout points with some people in boxing, because some people kind of looked at him as like, wasn't certified, but now getting with the authentic Mexican team like Canelo and Chepo and Eddie Reynoso, I think that helped his brand as well. People kind of embraced him, seeing that Canelo was embracing him, and so even though he's Mexican American, non-Spanish speaking, that helped his, just helped him acceptance wise, I guess you could say. It's a cultural thing, so I'm not going to spend too much time getting into it. But he's definitely a star, but he hasn't fought anyone. Like, Tank's a 3-time champion now. Teofimo just became a champion impressively, knocked out Richard Comey, a guy with 80-something% knockout ratio. At one point it was like 92% knockout ratio. That was a great win for Teofimo. I would say out of all the guys, Ryan Garcia's competition level probably has been the lightest, as far as Teofimo, Tank Davis, Devin Haney, and the people in that echelon in that division, and it could be because of Golden Boy. Maybe they want to move him at their own pace, which he's young, so it's not too big of a deal right now. But I don't think he's bigger. Like, even the Romero Duno fight, I just was hearing that Duno was wearing shirts and stuff. I never really even knew who Duno was like that. I never seen Duno as like one of the top guys at 135. He was just some guy who's supposed to have power and that kind of thing. So I like Ryan Garcia. I like all the guys at 135 basically, but I don't think he's bigger than Tank. He's not more accomplished than Tank. Tank's a little bit older than him, 25, I believe, 3-time champion in 2 divisions. And, I think that's why we're getting the mentioning of Tank, because it's cooler that way. It's cooler to talk about Tank Davis, who just sold out, Atlanta Hawks Stadium, and has Shaquille O'Neal. It's just different. Come on, man. There's levels. He has Shaquille O'Neal and Mutombo and Steven Jackson in attendance. Not to mention a lot of contemporary rappers like Lil Baby, OG rappers like Lil Kim. This was all in Atlanta. People, made the trek. People were dressed sharp, stuff like that. And I don't know what the turnout's going to be for Ryan Garcia. I know he has a fan base, but, I don't think it's going to be quite what the Tank fight was. But we'll have to wait and see. So I don't know what we're basing it off of. And this is what I hate about the social media age. People, like, you can't really base someone's full popularity on Instagram followers and, stuff like that, because there's ways to game that. There's ways you can, PR companies and different sites and things you can pay to enhance your following. And you really should be at 1 million, but you'll be at 3 million with those services. So I don't really put too much stock into that. Here's an example with my personal life is there's people who have more subs, maybe way more subs than me. But when I go to the fights, who's getting the respect? Like who's getting noticed? Who are people like, hey, I love your show. I love what you're doing for boxing. Keep it up. Things like that, taking pictures and introducing me to their fiancés and kids, and what I'm saying? It's just different levels. So you can't kind of put a value on that. Like, so somebody could have more subscribers than me, but I'm getting respect when I go to the fights. Like, people are like showing love and, like I said, taking pictures and talking about the channel and the impersonations, those different types of things when I see them. So subscribers and stuff, that doesn't necessarily matter. I know, like I said, I know for a fact there's people on YouTube that have more subs than me, and they're probably like, what the fuck? Like, why are people coming up to him and noticing him? I have more subs, but so I don't really get into that whole subs and views and stuff, because when it comes down to it, people know. If you know, people know who I am, and we get it rocking. 2020 is about to be popping. So the other issue I have with the clout chasing, and this is just one isolated situation, is fighters keep talking more about fights that they're not involved in rather than the fights that are being facilitated for them. And I think that's wrong. You know, it's a disrespect to the opponent. Like, why are you fighting Francisco Fonseca if all the questions are about Tank? You know, it puts me such in the mind space of Mayweather Pacquiao. Every time Pacquiao was about to fight somebody, they mention up Mayweather. Talk about, so Pacquiao's fighting Algieri, talk about Algieri. That's who you fighting at a catchweight, you know. But instead, the conversation would be shifted. Oh, but Floyd, what about Floyd? Yes, it's up to my promoter, Bob Adam, if my fight with Floyd. Like, it just gets old after a while. And I could tell fans and promoters, they're conditioning the fans to accept it, or trying to. And I'm not. You know, I set the trends rather than follow them. And I'm not going to be conditioned to play this game where everybody wants to talk about fights that aren't happening, and then the fights that the promoters are facilitating are much different or much lesser than the fights that they're clout chasing. Like, the fact is, Ryan Garcia is talking about Fonseca, or not talking about, he's fighting Fonseca. That's the reality. So let's build up that fight. Let's talk about the dynamics there. Does Fonseca have a chance? Is he crafty enough? What did you see Fonseca versus Tank that could give Ryan problems? What did you see in the Tevin Farmer fight? Is Ryan going to blow his head off? You know what I'm saying? Those types of things. But it's just getting out of control, you know. And I've noticed there's a couple fighters on DAZN where I've noticed this, and I like these fighters, but I got to keep it real. Andrade, another fighter I followed, I love. He's fighting on a Miami card on the DAZN website, which I got to make a separate video about. They don't even show his name. And then they put Jake Paul and Anderson Gibb to the left, like that's the spotlight of this card, which is disrespectful. But that's in itself another story. But beyond that, Andrade has a signed fight for January 30th on DAZN. And he's talking about Charlo. Eddie Hearn keeps talking about Charlo. We sent him a massive offer, massive. And then, you know, I know some of it might be bait questions from people interviewing these guys, but it gets, after a while, it gets old. And truth be told, I've seen Ryan Garcia probably talk about Tank and respond to fan questions and mention him more than I've seen it the other way around. So if you're a bigger star, then you don't necessarily have to do that. Like, Floyd doesn't have to mention a bunch of people. People have to mention Floyd. So I just want to see 2020. I want to see all the clout chasing, name dropping. If you don't have a contract, if it's not sounding realistic that you're going to fight this person next, I would love to see less of those conversations. And let's snap back to reality and talk about the fights that truly are going to happen, you know, or the matchups that are already made. Again, what's the point of making these fights if nobody cares about the actual fight at hand? And people rather talk about fantasy fights. You know, it's just, then the promoters got to work harder to make the fights that the fans are requesting. This is the fight that tickets are on sale. Pre-sale code is the Flash, you know, Friday, February 14th. So I'm not going to make too many videos about stuff like this, or I'm going to put it at the back of my work list, because to me, it's just, you know, or I'll just consolidate it. Because I used to just do, when it used to come up, you know, I used to do multiple videos about this stuff. I'm probably not going to do all that unless I feel I'm ahead of schedule, you know, things like that. Or if it's advantageous financially for me. I'm just being real with y'all, because the clout chasing, from what I've seen in boxing, is just getting out of hand. Let's talk about realities. Let's talk about the matchups that are actually happening. If Munguia is fighting Gary Spike O'Sullivan, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Sullivan's chances. O'Sullivan. I don't want to talk about him fighting Erickson, Lubin, and Hurd, and J-Rock, and Charlo. These are all just fantasy fights. And I think that's what some of the promoters want. But this is new media. We do things a little bit different. New media, we do things our way. You know, we set the tone. We set the trends. So Ryan Garcia, good luck in his fight with Fonseca. Let's get back to that. Tank, he just finished fighting. I don't know what's next for him. Gamboa, I think he exaggerated his injury. So let's talk about these things that come up, current events. I'm good with all that, but you know, it's just like coattailing and saying people's name. I'm not really with that. You don't see me do that on my channel. I don't mention other people, what they're doing. I don't watch what other people are doing. I just stay in my lane, keep it pushing, and build my brand. I don't need nobody else. I don't need nobody's cosign. I don't need nobody's name to coattail, etc. Hope you guys enjoy. If you love what I'm doing, smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe to next video's Ego. Signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.